Hi guys, welcome to Investments Portfolio Management, and we're going to be doing week 4, and this is the week 4 tutorial. Okay, so basically, it's going to be we're going to talk about things like the CAPM and also efficient diversification. So let's have a quick look. Let's look at weekly content, week number 4, CAPM and factor models. Please look at your notes in here. And as you can see, make sure you look through the lecture slides, the video. Do read the textbook, right? Okay, I cannot emphasize more that there are different ways to learn. Okay, so what happens during the lectures, I'll be discussing and describing concepts in a simple manner, but I'm not going to cover every different section in a textbook. So the textbook is where you really read to get a more wholesome, full understanding of the topic areas. The lectures are where I actually try to describe these concepts in a different way, where you can reach out to me and ask more questions, where I give you examples, but you really do have to read the textbook. Okay? You have to work on the online quiz. The quiz is actually up for you to actually test your knowledge and work on these questions. So basically, today we're doing class 2, the tutorial laboratory. We're going to look at chapter 6 and also chapter 7. Okay, so we click on these and they will bring it up. And the point of the tutorials is not like it's going to be an exhaustive run through of the all the questions, but I'm just going to cover um, a robust amount, I'd say, that covers enough of the topic areas so you can try the rest by yourself. Okay, so this is where we click continue. We open up, these are the questions in 7 and question 6. Okay, now, so you can click on these, you can actually get access to the questions here. Alternatively, as I've mentioned before, you can click on learning resources and you have the list of resources. Okay, and you can scan. The textbook problems are all here as well. Okay, and what I'll do is that I will release the solutions to the work basically on the Sunday, or I'm thinking of maybe on the Friday, at the end of the week. So you can work on these tutorial questions and look at the solutions and work on it yourselves as well. Okay, so without further ado, what we're going to do now, we're going to look at question 6. Okay, so let's see. We have question 6. Let's close that. And let's go down. And we're going to look at, let's look and see week number 4. Oops, sorry. I'm going to close that. And let's look at week number 4. Okay, so we're going to look at chapter 6, question 21 and 22. Okay, so what we have right now is 21. The following figure shows plots of monthly rates of return and the stock market for 2 stocks. Which stock is riskier to an investor currently holding her portfolio in a diversified portfolio of common stock? Which stock is riskier to an undiversified portfolio investor who puts all his funds in only one of these stocks? Okay, so how do we look at this question, right? So what we have over here is that we have these scatter plots. And what we need to do is look at the dispersion of these points over the line. Okay, we want to look at the gradient of the line, which is how steep it is. Okay, and we also want to look at where the line intersects with the y-axis. Okay, so we know that the y-axis is the excess return because it's RA minus RF. So that means it's the return of A minus the risk-free rate. So that's the excess return on the asset. Okay, And on the x-axis, this is the excess market return because it's RM minus RF, right? So that's what we need to understand. If you look at the dispersion of points, look at the gradient, okay, and then look at the dispersion of points in that area. So let's look at 21A. Okay, so which stock is riskier to an investor currently holding in a diversified portfolio of common stock? Okay, so if you're in a diversified portfolio, the only type of risk you should be exposed to is systematic risk. And what is the measure of systematic risk? That's going to be beta. Okay, so which is the slope of the line. Okay, so slope of the line, that's a security characteristic line. Okay, the slope, that's what I was mentioning to you, the things we watch out for. Look at what's on the y-axis, the x-axis, the gradient of the line, the dispersion of points, and the intersection with the y-axis. Okay, so we're looking at the slope of the line because the slope of the security is the gradient, which is the systematic risk, which is beta. Okay, so when we look at these two figures, what we're actually really looking at over here is that we're looking at the systematic risk of these two different stocks. So the first question we're going to think, okay, which stock has a steeper or higher gradient for the security characteristic line? Okay, so what happens is that because stock's base slope is steeper, okay, it's steeper than A's, therefore B has greater systematic risk. Okay, so that means the slope of A has a lower gradient and therefore lower beta and lower systematic risk. Therefore, B is more risky because it's got more systematic risk because the gradient is steeper, so the beta is higher. So which stock is riskier to the investor currently holding her portfolio diversified portfolio common stock? That's going to be stock B. Okay, because stock B has higher systematic risk. Okay, so part B. Which stock is riskier to an undiversified investor who puts all of his funds in only one of these stocks? Right? So basically what happens if you're an undiversified investor, you're not exposed to much to systematic risk, you're actually exposed to firm-specific risk. Okay? So why do we say that firm A has higher firm-specific risk? Because what happens, we see there's more dispersion, right, of the returns around the line. Okay, what we actually see is that the deviations of the observations from SCR are greater than for stock A than for stock B. This actually means that the variance of stock A is greater than stock B. So that's why I said you watch out for the grade, you look at dispersion of points, right? So the dispersion of points tells you the variance or the firm-specific idiosyncratic risk. The closer the points are, that means you have less variance. Okay, so what happens is that stock A has greater variance but lower systematic risk. Okay, so it has higher idiosyncratic risk but lower specific risk and lower beta, right? So deviations of variance is actually measured by the distance of the point from the line itself. Okay, so stock A is more risky for an undiversified investor who puts all his funds in only one of these stocks because because the fact it's undiversified, he's going to take on a lot of firm-specific risk. Okay, so this is actually riskier.